Hello.
Hello.
Happy Saturday. I'm happy to be recording early today.
This is early?
Yeah, it's not in the evening.
Oh.
It's that evening recording that's tricky for me.
Well, I've been awake for a very long time, so.
Oh my, you are ready for a nap.
I'm ready for bed.
Right. Correction. So, we've got things to do today. All right, we're chugging along. So, what have you been reading, or what have you just finished?
Okay. I have a pile. Hold on, let me go through the pile. So I just started my reread of The House of Mirth by Edith Wharton because I'm doing a little reading project throughout the year, and it's reading 7 books of Edith Wharton's, and we'll take a look at it and break it down over on Substack. So I'm diving into this. This is the first book, and I don't really have a lot to say about it other than that I continue to love it. I think we've talked about this a bunch on the channel already, but essentially this follows Lily Bard, who's trying to find a husband. She's 29. She's orphaned. She's in like Gilded Age New York. Things don't really go well for her, and life beats her down. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a really scathing dissection of the upper crust of New York during the Gilded Age, the world that Edith Wharton knows very well, since that's where she came from. Yeah, I enjoy it. I
love it. The House of Mirth was really good.
Yeah, she's a really great writer. It's interesting to read it like now, like the way I'm reading it, like because I'm reading it again. I'm reading it along with a lot of supplemental stuff that I'm reading.
Right.
So it's definitely a more robust experience this time around. But I highly recommend it to anybody who hasn't read The House of Mirth to read this. If you want to join me, you can join me. It's all over on my Substack. I think I talk about it everywhere, so you can probably find a way over to my year with Edith Wharton. But it should be fun. I've got a bunch of people that are interested in it, and I'm very excited. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Thumbs up to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be a crazy person and just go ahead and grab my House of Mirth back there and start the read along as well. And then I was unpacking some other books, and I found another Edith Wharton that I must have found at my last or during my last McKay run called Summer.
That is on the list as well. There's a long. I think it's a good cross section of a lot of her work.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really have very long books, so the read is very slow. So you have time to catch up. You have time to simmer through books if you want. So it should be like a relaxing stroll through Edith Wharton this year.
Absolutely.
But join
I'm happy
me.
About that. Yes. Join her.
Me. I'm working on this week's little check-in.
I love it. I love it so much. All right.
What are you doing?
So I started this book in December. It's Our Evenings by Alan Hollinghurst. I actually pre-ordered this. I've only read one of his other books called The Line of Beauty, which I thought was phenomenal and so beautifully written. So when I saw this new one coming out, I pre-ordered it. I'm about halfway through it, and it is so great. So we follow David Wynn through the 1960s, and he is the son of a Burmese man and a British dressmaker mom. And he gets into this really like top elite boarding school. And, there he is met with all kinds of your, typical shenanigans dealing with kids of privilege and how mean and bullying they can be. And one of those kids, what is his name? Giles? Giles Hadlow, in particular, they have a little thing going on, and Giles' parents are the ones that sponsored the scholarship, and they've really taken to Dave because Giles is so difficult to deal with. It's almost like they feel like they can be more nurturing towards Dave, so they have really made Dave a part of their family. And so throughout, the beginnings, we're looking at, Dave and um, his sexuality is coming into play, and his desires of wanting to be an actor, and he's, meeting all these other people in Giles's family, and he's gaining some mentorship. And then we get a little glimpse of his mom, who is also dealing with her own sexuality, being a married woman and then having some involvement with a woman. And so that's kind of where I am in the book. I'm very excited to see where it goes, but I love the pacing. I really love Dave as a character. His Giles's parents, although they're very sweet and very nurturing, I don't know, it just feels like a bit too much. Like I don't fully trust them. So we'll have to see where all of that goes. But I'm really enjoying this book a great deal. It is beautifully written. So we'll see how I feel by the end of it. But so far, so good. And that's Our Evenings by Alan Hollinghurst.
You need to update me when you're done, because I feel like
Yeah.
I've seen that around and I've been like, that looks like I might love it.
Yeah.
But something is holding me back. I don't know what, but there's something. So
Yeah.
let me know.
Will do.
So what are we doing here?
We are going to discuss a book from one of our favorite authors. Wait, what were you going to say?
Nothing. I'm just going to wait patiently for you.
Claudia Piñeiro. We have discussed on this podcast her book, Elena Knows. What's the other book?
A Little Luck.
One called? A Little Luck. And today we're going to be discussing Time of the Flies. Once again, we would both like to thank Charcoal Press for sending us books. We are beyond grateful. Thank you so much. I think we've made it clear to them also that we are just absolute Piñeiro fans.
Yes, you can send us all of her books.
Yes.
Or not, we'll buy them anyway. But if you do, we will be eternally grateful.
Right. I have so many pages dog-eared on this book. Sometimes when I'm reading the book, I annotate as I go along and put my flags in to mark where I've annotated. But sometimes I annotate and just dog-ear the page where I annotated, and I put the flags in later. I know someone just had a heart attack when I said that, but yeah, I dog-ear pages because it's my book. And there's a lot.
Yeah, I do the same.
Yeah.
I do the same. I have to, I just remembered I have to pull mine up on here because I did read this predominantly on ebook because my back. So
right. And as I mentioned, we'll probably also be digging back into All Yours a little bit. If you listen to our, episode, 4 or 5 episodes back, when I was talking about when I was reading Time of the Flies, Alyssa had mentioned that I need to pause and go and read All Yours before I read Time of the Flies, which I did. Thankfully, I already had a copy because I own all of her books. And so we may be tapping on a few things in All Yours as it relates to Time of the Flies. So just be warned about that.
Yeah, so I think that's a important little caveat in the beginning, because read All Yours before you jump into Time of the Flies. It's super short. Do. It'll give you the background context that you need to understand what is happening, where we are starting, and why some of the tensions that are in the plot are in the plot.
Especially when the parts about the daughter come in, it's like you won't. Read All Yours first.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, essentially, Time of Flies starts with Ines, who is our main character. She is exiting prison. She has been in prison for 15 years. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that.
For murdering her husband's lover. And while she's been in prison, obviously life has changed. All kinds of things have changed. Her husband is obviously no longer her husband. Her home is not her home. Her daughter has moved on with her daughter's life. And Ines has to move on with hers. While she's in prison, she she develops this obsession with flies,
Mhm.
because of this like floater or whatever she gets in her eyes, but it's like stress related.
Yeah.
She calls it her fly. She gets obsessed with flies. She ends up going down this route of reading books about flies, from literary to scientific to um, more trade related for extermination.
Mhm.
So she becomes very, very well versed in flies and other bugs. So she comes out and she starts this business with her friend, whose name is escaping me. Do you remember her name?
Manka.
Thank you. Who I can't remember why Monka's in jail. Oh, was it drugs? It was like
Drugs.
drug muling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she's like, they set up this FFF business where they
Right.
fumigate and they do, it's like a female fumigators and something else. And they,
It's like 2 businesses in one, right?
one, yeah,
'Cause
like
yeah.
she does the fumigation and then her friend does
Mhm.
these like private
Investigations and
investigations.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're trying to rebuild their lives.
Mhm.
And one day, Ines goes to this one rich lady's house, and the rich lady recognizes her for who this woman who killed her husband's lover. And so she offers her a deal uh, to, if she gets her some very special poison for killing that only she can get because she has a license to get those chemicals. Um, she'll pay her a lot of US dollars.
Yep.
And you find out why it's particularly beneficial to Ines that she gets this money as the story unfolds, and it's not about really her. Um, and there's a lot of going back and forth for a while over whether or
Mhm.
not she should take this deal. They investigate this woman. Um, and while all that's going on, we're also learning about whatever happened to Ines's daughter,
Mhm.
who we leave her at the end of All
All
Yours, and
yours.
she is pregnant. She's giving birth.
Yep.
And she's basically alone. She had met some people that kind of saved her and took her under their wing, which that whole thing really creeped me out because that could have gone
Right.
really, really
Oh,
badly.
it could have been so terrible.
Um, and we see her now years later. She's got an older daughter, obviously. She's very happily married. She's got another kid. She's living her life free of her mom, free of her dad, free of everything. She's
Yeah.
rebuilt herself. She's a school counselor. Like, she's great. She
She's
is
yeah, a
awesome.
child psychologist,
Let's just, there you go.
you
She's
know?
she's great. And so things start to unravel. It's Claudia Piñeiro. It's kind of another
Yep.
mystery. And
Mhm.
so there are things that get found out in the process of all of this. And there are secrets and double crossings and all kinds of interesting things going on. Um, and it was a ride.
It
And
really
then
was.
broken up in all of this are these moments of this chorus of voices, of women's voices,
Yes.
talking about different feminist themes that you and I talk about often,
Yep.
that are kind of also being explored in this text as well, like motherhood. And is there an expiration on motherhood? She's got this
Mhm.
expiration on being a wife. She's no longer a wife. But is she always a mom? And just all kinds of just great, just little breakdowns
Yeah.
punctuating the story. And they include references and quotes from really like seminal feminist works.
Right.
And
Yes. You can build a TBR off of that stuff.
you can. And so I just think it was, when I got to the first chunk of that chorus section, I
Mhm.
was like, oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
Claudia, I see what you're doing here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she always does something interesting. It's never just like a crime novel. It's never
Right.
just, there's always something simmering under the surface of a Claudia Piñeiro novel, and that I
Well,
think
she
is
always has
why
something to say.
that's why I think she's so phenomenal. It's
Yeah.
not just that, like, oh, she writes a great book, oh, she writes a great mystery or whatever.
Yeah.
There's there's a meatiness to it that I
Always.
love, and they're never the same.
Exactly. Exactly. She always has a strong message, and it's always so relatable.
Did I get it? Did I
Always
get it
so
all?
relatable. Yes, you
Did I get
did.
the summary? Okay.
Yes, yes. I should
All right, let's talk
just
about
like I just want to say one thing about those choruses that I just always chuck it out loud because in each one it was like, are you signed up to speak?
it.
I enjoyed it so much.
Every
Um,
time every
every
time there
time.
was somebody that would come in and say something sort of like,
Right.
contradictory to what everybody else was saying,
Yeah.
and then it would be,
It's like,
"Were
are
you
you
supposed to be
signed up to
speaking
speak?
right now?"
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, so let's get into it. You know what here's what I really love too. I love the friendship between these two women.
Mhm,
It is quite lovely. It is quite lovely.
mhm,
Um, although we understand later how Monka really feels, but it's really beautiful that support that they have with for one another and a shared goal
mhm.
and being business owners just together just tops it off. But it was really lovely to see that.
It really was. I liked how, so I feel like Ines was really robbed of what she was brought up to expect in life. So in All Yours, this she's given her whole life over to what she thought she was supposed to be doing, which
Yep.
was being a wife and I guess being a mother. She's not a great mother, but
Right. It was, but it
she's
was
real,
it was a check the box thing, right? A part of her
but she's
duties of
doing it.
what to do. Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing it. But, she thought that that's what she was supposed to be doing, and if she did these things, she'd have a good life. And then the lies start to tumble out, right? And the whole foundation of her life is rotted out from underneath her.
Yeah.
And for her to come back after a horrible experience and to have built a family with Manka is phenomenal. Like,
Yeah.
it was so lovely to see because I don't think, like, I never felt bad. I never felt like I wasn't like, "Oh, Ines, you're evil," right?
Never. I thought she was
Not
nuts in that all yours. I mean, because she went off the rails quick, and you understand why. But
mhm,
it just was just so fast. It just like threw me. But
yeah,
I never
but
hated her.
they talk about that though, right? They talk
Yeah.
about how if it had been if she had done what she did now and not 15 years ago or however long ago it was. I have
Hmm.
15 stuck in my head, and I think it is 15.
15 is that's correct.
Um, that things would have been different. She wouldn't have had the same sentence. The judge would have judged her differently, like, it would have
Yeah.
been like those crimes of passion almost didn't exist at the
Yeah.
time that she was being tried. And what would her life have had been if she had been tried differently, right?
Right.
Poorness.
Yeah.
I just feel bad for her, and I love when she decides to take this money and to do this, and you find out why she's doing it. She really doesn't want to, and
Right.
then she learns that Manka is sick, and you learn how just horrible their healthcare system is.
And corrupt.
Um, yeah. I mean, I will say this about their corrupt healthcare system. At least if you pay them money, you can get somewhere.
Right.
Like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
ours, you keep paying money and you get nowhere.
Exactly. Rejected. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but there's a lot of love in Ines
Hmm.
that I don't
And
know if
that
she got
shows.
to explore when she was married. Like when she was in that situation where she should have been loving and caring, I don't think she had the opportunity to be that in a fully realized form.
Well, yeah, and also too because in all yours, even the love that she did show toward her husband in particular, it was not reciprocated. He wasn't
Oh
a
no.
particularly lovely or nurturing partner. In fact, he was quite an asshole and quite cruel. So even though she had love to give, at some point it becomes stifled because the other person, number one, doesn't appreciate it, doesn't want it, and doesn't reciprocate it. So I think when that happens, you kind of steal yourself off a little bit and become a little harder just to protect yourself.
Yeah. I think often about that moment where he comes back from his little cheating trip and just
Yeah.
tosses her the bag and is like, "Do my laundry, wench," you know?
Right.
Like, he doesn't
Yeah,
say
like
that verbatim, but, like, it's
yeah,
basically like, "I've been out cheating, clean my clothes."
exactly. Because this is all you're worth to me.
Mhm.
That's all you're worth to me. You
And
bore me
she's
a child, you
excited
do
that
my
he's
housework.
here.
Yeah, very much so.
She's
Very
like, "Oh,
much
you're
so.
home." He's like, "Oh, great, my laundress, like, she's here
Yeah. Yeah.
to do my laundry."
Yeah. It's no wonder why she snapped. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's another thing I think that Pinheiro does really well. Like, look, she murdered someone in cold blood, but
Yeah.
the way that she built the story in All Yours, you understand that things were just like getting ready to boil over anyway. Like how much cruelness can a person take? How much cruelness and disrespect can a person take after they've given their life over to you to be in partnership? And so that puts the reader in a position where you have more empathy and understanding for what Inez went through and why she stepped in the way that she did.
I mean, murder is wrong,
It is.
but sometimes I understand
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so, yeah. Yeah, the healthcare system is incredibly corrupt.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
like, just listening to what Monka had to do to go get, like, the amount of money and, like, you also have to, like, remember how so she's getting this big payout, right, from this lady, um, this, like, newscaster lady or whatever she is, she's producer for a news show or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's getting it in US dollars. And the value that US dollars has in a peso economy like Argentina
Right.
is is like astronomical, right? So for Manka to have gotten her hands on the money that she needed to get her hands on
Yep.
otherwise in another way would have
Mm-hmm.
been nearly impossible for someone like her.
Right. Right.
So again, Ines is put in this position where maybe she's not doing the right thing, but you understand why she's not doing the right thing.
Exactly. I mean, in Inez's mind, there is no other way. Like
No.
this is how we basically keep you alive. I
Yeah,
do this one deed for this woman, I get this money, and that money saves your life. This is it. End of story.
yeah, and I'm not administering anything, I'm not doing anything.
Exactly.
She from what she knows, it's being, it's something she understands, it's, the lover of or she is it for the husband or the lover? I don't know, it doesn't matter. It's a similar
Yeah.
situation as, she went through, so, she's got empathy for this,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as she doesn't know too many details, okay, fine. I'm going to do this
Right.
for my friend. Um, but the deviousness of this lady,
That took a turn, didn't it? I mean,
but that like
my goodness.
but doesn't that put an S to shame? Like,
Yes.
an S didn't do like who's really the evil one?
Right. Right.
It's
Because
not an
what was her name? Susan Bonner or Bonaire? I don't know how you pronounce the last name, but my goodness. I mean, just that woman was really full of rage and hate, and
right.
she was out for absolute revenge. There's there's no way to other way to put it. She
But I
meant
mean,
to do harm.
but you also understand the rage, right? But I don't know if I guess we just need to spoil things, right?
We're
I
gonna
don't
have to because
There's no way to talk about this without
yeah,
doing that. Um, so pause here if you haven't read and go
right.
go read it and come back, circle back here. Um, because losing your child, right?
Hmm.
Um, and losing your child for her, which was kind of twice, right?
Yes, it absolutely was.
um, I can comprehend that that would be, like, breaking of your psyche, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But to have held that grudge and to be, like, that full of hate as well, like, the hate that she has for her trans kid, the resistance she has to this, it's heartbreaking.
I mean, yeah,
And
dead naming the gravestone and everything,
yeah,
just, like, heartbreaking.
yeah, it's horrible. And then to, at the same time, hold on to that sadness of losing your child, fully losing your child, like, they're no
Yeah.
longer on this planet. Um, it's like uh, I wanted to feel bad for her and I couldn't.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
not, like, fully, like, "I'm sorry you lost your child, but why were you so terrible to your child?"
You're terrible to your child, and then your child commits suicide, and, like, we understand that this is misplaced anger. You are really
Mhm,
angry at yourself because deep down inside, you know that as a mother, you should have accepted your child to help them deal with this transition in their life, and you understand on a deep level that you are part of the reason why this child decided to end things, but you can't
mhm,
really deal with knowing that it's partly your fault. And so that
mhm.
anger is misplaced, and you put that on someone else, and now you want to harm their family, you want to harm them. um and it's just absolutely just disgusting how hell-bent she was on doing that. I mean, she in fact did do it, but, like, for the grace of
Thank
the
God for
investigation
Inez.
between Manka and Inez,
Yeah, I mean, thank God Monka was like, "There's just something really wrong here,"
yeah, yeah,
because without that, the tragedies would have just continued, right?
yep,
Because, I mean, to have planned out the the murder of someone's young baby
yes,
in revenge
yeah.
and then to just flee the country.
I mean, think about it.
It's
She
just
pretended to forgive. She pretended to want to have some sort of friendship with Laura. She put on
mhm,
this ruse so they can have all these several visits, building this, imaginary bond. She pretended to like her baby. She
mhm.
just did so much it's just so evil.
It's
To,
so
like, we're
calculated
talking,
and
like, so many visits between them, and it's just so deceiving. It's gross. And
we probably have to
all the
back up and
while you're plotting to kill this child.
I know. We probably should back up and explain that Laura, her
Right.
daughter, was best friends with,
Susan's.
with Susan's child,
Yeah.
and
Before and after they
yeah,
transition.
and so
Yeah.
there was, like, a tremendous loss on all sides, and even Laura, I think Laura was very kind, and what is their name? I don't recall.
Timu? Timo?
Yeah, Timo. Um, Laura was very kind to them and
Absolutely.
tried to help with everything, and obviously there was a lot of emotional, uh, stress, and I think Susan really held that against Laura, and it's
Yeah.
not just that, like, Laura gets their healthy child, but and I don't, it's that she did, like, you're right, like, this idea of, misplaced anger, she did what I should have done.
Right. Right. She was a comfort to
Mhm,
my child when I should have been. That's a hard pill to swallow when you're in a
mhm,
situation where you end up with a child that committed suicide. That's really hard, that wow, I have to live with the fact that some other woman had enough kindness in her heart to accept my child fully, whereas I basically turned my back on them.
I just refused to accept them as they were.
Yeah.
And my child was brave enough to come out to me and say that they're trans,
Yeah.
and you rejected them in every turn. I
Yeah.
mean, how do you expect your child to feel?
Right.
There's just so much in this. Just think about how much is in this, right?
Mhm.
We're talking about anti-trans just issues,
Yep.
feminism, prison, corrupt healthcare system.
Mhm.
Like the layers that Claudia Piñeiro can put in a book.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm always blown away by what I read from her.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that the harsh treatment against women in the legal system is so prevalent in this book. Monka talks
Mhm.
about her experience because she went to jail, got out, did something, went back in, and she got really harsh punishment. But the big Kahuna drug guy, like he didn't get anything, and he's done horrific things. And then as we mentioned earlier, Monka is like a PI, and she has this one client who lost custody of her two sons because she was caught having an affair. And so this woman pays Monka to, spy on her children every week to send her photos of them. So
Mhm.
this harsh treatment of women in the legal system is very prevalent
Mhm.
in this book.
Yeah, there's like 2 different legal systems in many ways. Um, yeah, I mean, but I felt like the prison actually itself in the beginning, the prison scenes
Hmm.
felt not that bad.
Right.
It felt like the women were making the best they could out of the situation,
They
and I
absolutely
think that
were.
the fact that Ines m had that connection with that teacher that would come in with the books,
Yep.
and how that gave her an escape from anything that maybe was less nice about, how they were surviving in prison,
Yeah.
right? To give her this thing and to set her up with a skill essentially when she left,
Yeah.
that was really lucky because she could have not kept going and trying to find something that would make an S happy, right? She
Yeah.
could have given up on her and just been like, ugh, this annoying prisoner. But she didn't. And she just kept kind of going back to the drawing board and until she found what Inez was really searching for,
Yeah.
what she would connect with. Um, and I thought that was, I mean, it's like those are the people that save you, right? I mean, that's kind of
Absolutely.
what Laura, is trying to do with Timu.
Yeah.
And it's like there's just everybody needs that person.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, jail saved Inez. I mean, she really
Mhm.
became a new woman.
Yeah.
She learned something new. She realized that she could fend and make a new life for herself, wholly independent. And that's extremely important coming from that type of marriage that she was in. I want to read this part in Time of the Flies on page 201 where she says, "For so many years, I was so focused on Ernesto and my relationship with him. I wasted my energy, my knowledge, my emotional well being, my time. I threw away years of freedom for that obsession, like so many other women. But without doubt, motherhood was and is, for me at least, others are more fortunate, much more conflictive, brutal, absurd, even worse than my relationship with my husband, ex husband. Many women have been fooled by a man, but not so many have been rejected by both their mother and their daughter." And so part of what we learn in All Yours is she also had, she being Inez, also had not the greatest relationship with her own mother. And that
Mhm.
Inez herself was not the best mother to her daughter, Laura. And so when we get into Time of the Flies, that strain is present. It's almost like Inez has disconnected herself um, from motherhood. She says, "But I retired from motherhood a long time ago. No mother, no daughter, no heart. I'm a woman who has given birth. She's a woman who was birthed by me.
Mhm.
That when I've read that, it's so painful. Like
It is
all of what
painful.
she gained from being in jail and what she learned and how she was able to kind of rebuild herself that she can come out and not have to depend on a man and be able to take care of herself. There's still that pain of motherhood, which was just gut wrenching.
Well, and
Just
this
gut wrenching.
probably should never have been a mother, right?
Yeah,
Like, because not everybody should be a mother, and
absolutely.
some people don't want to be, and they become mothers, and they
Mhm.
become phenomenal mothers.
Yeah.
And some people think they want to be mothers, and it turns out they should never have done this.
Mhm.
Um, it, we don't know how we're going to act in any given situation. It doesn't matter, motherhood, a car crash,
Marriage.
marriage, anything. Pick something. We have no
Yeah.
idea how we're going to act until we're in it. Um, so I can't be mad at her because she was raised to do certain things. She
Yeah.
was raised to meet these milestones. And if she met those milestones, she was doing good, right?
Yeah.
And she had no model for good parenting.
Mhm.
I don't even think she had a good model for good marriage.
Absolutely
So,
not.
so she was set up to fail. She didn't have to fail, but she was set up. The cards are stacked
Yeah.
in that direction, they're
Yeah.
against her.
Yeah. I ended up, I think, feeling the most love and empathy for Laura,
Mhm,
um, because, she had these 2 parents who just, I don't know, they were there, but they weren't there. When
mhm,
Monka is doing her investigation and taking, photos of Laura, and the first time that she sees her with these kids, and Inez doesn't even know that she's a mother, and Maka points out like it's a pretty big deal to be pregnant in the home with your parents and neither one of your parents noticed.
mhm.
Like that,
'Cause, I
that's
mean,
a pretty big deal.
she gives birth, like, the day her mom's arrested or whatever,
Yeah, the day the
something
murder
like that.
happened, that's the day she gave birth.
So, like, what a day.
Right.
But how crazy. All they did was tell her she was fat.
Yeah. Yeah.
"No, your daughter's pregnant,
Yeah.
dingus." Like,
Yeah.
and so, like, poor Laura. I mean, Laura, thank God that family took her in, right? That random man
Absolutely.
approached her at the bus station.
Listen, were you not worried when that happened? When that happened in all yours, I was terrified. Like, please don't let anything horrific
Naomi,
happen to this young girl.
I thought she was gonna end up chained in a basement, having to
I'm
pee in a lawn
serious.
chair with a
Yes.
hole and.
Yeah. I was terrified for her.
But thank God that's not
Yeah.
how that went because she ended up finding what she needed, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same as, like, Ines finding that teacher, right? You found
Sure.
somebody who was going to invest time and not give
Mhm.
up on you, and we all kind of need someone who's gonna invest time in us and not give up on us so that we
Right.
know we're worth, like, not giving up on, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
You're proud of Laura. She
So
makes
proud.
a life for herself and she moves on, and she could let all of that stuff hold her back, or she could use them as excuses or whatever, and she doesn't. She
Yeah.
builds a life. Very nice life.
I was gonna say it's a very beautiful life,
Yeah.
and her daughter seems really happy, and
Mhm,
it seems that she's chosen a really good partner, to
mhm,
raise these children with, and it's all very lovely, and it really made my heart sing because oh my goodness, the anger that Laura could have held on to throughout her adult years could have ruined her. Could have
I mean
absolutely ruined her, but she decided to make a better life for herself and be the opposite of what her parents were to her, obviously.
mhm. And like where we left her, I mean,
Yeah.
anything could have happened.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's nice that Piñeiro didn't like take it somewhere terrible.
Yeah.
But I
For
kind of like
sure.
that Ines has to step in and save the day because you know that she does care.
Yes. You
She
know
does
it.
really care. And and I mean, who knows how close, you end up getting, but that's not the point. The point
Yeah.
is that she's not like cold-hearted. She's not evil. She's just maybe shouldn't be a mother, you know?
Right. But I thought about this while reading the book because oftentimes this happens. Sometimes women are not the greatest mothers, but end up being absolutely amazing grandmothers. And I like how Laura and her husband um basically told their daughter, if you want to, find out what happened with your grandmother, like, go ask her. So they gave her the go ahead to
Yeah.
open up some kind of a door to a possible relationship with Inez. And
Mhm.
when she got there and Inez was open to that, I almost wanted to cry because I was like, this is probably another new chapter for them, Maybe she'll
Yeah.
be a really great grandmother and they'll build this beautiful relationship. So that really made me happy.
Yeah. I do like when you get like a because I don't feel like we got a happy ending with Elena Knows.
We did not.
Like there
We
was
did not.
nowhere in there where I could really salvage anything truly positive. Um, so it's nice. It's nice
Yeah.
yet again to kind of have a good ending.
Yeah.
Um,
And she still has a very strong friendship with Manka. I mean, their
mhm.
ending scenes were beautiful too. I really love Manka. I like all of her private investigative scenes.
And I like her friend. What was his name? Uh,
Oh,
her
her
little like
cousin?
yeah, her cousin that she uses for like different
Yeah.
things.
He was
They
cool, wasn't he?
he was cool. They were really fun together and like when he and that random chick are like exploring Laura's house,
Yeah.
he seemed
What
like
was his name? I forgot.
no, I can't. I'm trying to find it.
Me too. But that was a good character, right? And I
He was
I
a
love
nice
how
character.
because so Maka's cousin helps her out on some of these and PI jobs or whatever, does like research and stuff for her and goes out and does other things. And he's married to this woman, and they don't have a great marriage. He's sleeping on the couch. It's not good for either one of them. And so
Mm-mm.
there is a housekeeper that works for Susan Bonaire, and through the investigation, Maka ends up talking with her, and so several chapters later, towards the end of the book, Maka's talking to her
Roddy too.
cousin. There we go. Maka's talking to Roddy too and saying, look, basically, your marriage is crap, but I've got a great girl that I think you should meet. And I
Yeah.
imagine in my mind that he leaves his wife and gets divorced and meets this woman, and they actually have a really nice relationship. In my mind, that's what I've built. And he's finally happy because he's a cool dude.
Yeah. Everybody kind of ends in a nice spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That
This was
was
a
great.
lovely, lovely, lovely book. Pinheiro just does not disappoint.
Mm-mm.
She does not
Not me, at
disappoint.
least.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So thank you, Charco, for sending that to
Thank
us.
you.
We're really
Yes.
excited. I'm always
Yeah.
excited when I have a new Pinera.
Exactly. Are you gonna get the other ones? Because I'm gonna be finishing her backlist this year. Did you order any of her other, or you're gonna read them on
I
ebook
haven't
or
ordered books in
anything?
a little bit. I
Good for
might.
you. Okay.
I'll make it
Yeah.
there eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
focusing a lot on what I have here and trying to be good about not just mindlessly buying books.
Yeah.
So
I hear
I
you.
will probably get there. I mean, I'll probably buy them too, but like in
Yeah. Yeah.
like I'm not just like sitting around buying books online.
Yeah. I think I've ordered a lot recently because like I want to read Octavia Butler this year, and I only own Kindred and Parable of the Sower, so I order the rest of her stuff. There's some intentional purchases that I've done, but I think I'm going to chill out for a while because
Yeah. I now have 2 copies of Parable of the Sower because I found it thrifting, and also the publisher sent me one, and I did not know I
ah
was getting sent one, so I was like, "Damn it.
right, right.
Could
Oh,
have saved myself $8."
just a reminder again for wrapping up this conversation. Okay, if you're going to read this, please read all yours first.
Yes.
Okay, then read Time of the Flies. All right, all yours. Then Time of the Flies. This is the backstory of Inez, Ernesto, and Laura. You need this before you read this. All right.
Mhm.
We've told you like 3 times. Do not say we did not warn you. All
I
right.
mean, I do think that she does do a fairly decent job of giving you backstory, but I don't think it would be the same without having the full
It would not.
thing. So
It would not. Yeah.
so yeah. Yeah, I loved it.
Okay.
It was good. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
It's fantastic.
Is is it book recommendations?
It is. It is.
Alright. You wanna go?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I read this fantastic play, Death and the Maiden by Ariel Dorfman.
Mm.
What a phenomenal play. Talk about going off the rails like in 1.2 seconds. So we are with this husband and wife, Paulina and Gerardo. Gerardo was out driving one day and got a flat or something, and a man came to his rescue. And so when he gets home to Paulina, he tells her about the ordeal and says, "Hey, we're going to have him over for lunch or whatever." Well, the guy comes over for lunch, and Paulina's freaking out because while this country was under dictatorship, Paulina had been taken and held captive, and horrible things were done to her by many men for a while. And when she sees this man who helped her husband, she recognizes him as one of those men that basically tortured her during that time. And so now that this country is out of dictatorship, her husband has been tapped by the president to be a part of some committee that brings these injustices to trial. And so what we see in this play is this woman trying to reconcile with being face to face with one of the men that was so brutal towards her, and trying to convince her husband that she's not crazy and that she's not making it up, and things just spiral so out of control from there. It was phenomenal. I will also say and recommend that you listen to this play while reading it, because the
Mm.
performance was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. But talk about a ride. Death and the Maiden was a ride. I highly recommend it. I actually highly recommend reading more plays in general, but this was fantastic. So find the audiobook if you can, grab the play, and just sit down and enjoy yourself and get some popcorn, because honey, you were on a roller coaster.
That's definitely something I don't do enough of is reading plays.
Yeah, yeah.
I always forget that that's, like, an option.
Right. Every time when I go to McKay, I try to like pick up a couple. So I've got like maybe 6, because I want to read more plays.
It's not like they take up a lot of space.
Exactly. Exactly.
I
What
think I have
about you?
6
What are
more.
you recommending to the people?
So, I finished this, and now I just need to read their first novel, but I read Eliza Clark's short story collection, that came out.
Hmm.
She's Always Hungry. I really, really enjoyed this. I enjoyed Penance as well. I just, for some reason, haven't read Boy Parts. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I just haven't. So I have to get to that. But we're 2 for 2, so I can't imagine I won't. I can't
Right.
imagine I'll like it, right?
Yeah.
So these are all sort of stories, as you could imagine, around like hunger, like um, the like, and like desire, I guess, as a stand-in for the word hunger, like the desire to be like the right weight. So there's a lot of trigger warnings for different things. I think the first story is very much about like eating disorders, something like you would clearly associate with a collection of stories about hunger. But then there's things about like power and sex and um, beauty and all kinds of stuff. And they can be kind of dark and sinister, but there is this humor that runs throughout. And I really enjoyed it. Like it was a good time. There's one story in here I really liked, and that was The King. And it's like this alien basically is living amongst us, and they used to be like this dominant species that like ruled the world, but now like this is the only one left, and then it's the end of the world, and then they just kind of like watch humanity suffer and die, and they kind of love it. And she keeps this like man this conspiracy theory guy that she met on like Reddit or something, um locked up in her home because she has to consume human flesh. So like, and he has this like kink about being eaten to death or something like that. So it's just funny. It's just funny. It's just a good time. And then so like the first part is like the world ending, and the second part is the world rebuilding, and the third part is like her becoming like this king of the new world. And it's great. It is a really great story. I really enjoyed it, and it's funny. Like it's hilarious. It's dark humor, but it's hilarious. I really loved it. There's like creepy stories about this girl who wanted perfect skin, and she gets some like thing to make her skin perfect, and she ends up like peeling off. It's they're great. I love them. They were awesome.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, and the kind of like visually goes nicely with the pink Claudia Piñeiro. So.
Yes, it does. I have not read Penance. I do own Boy Parts. The publisher sent it to me like 2 or 3 years ago, but I have not read it. But I want to.
Yeah. I like Penance. I think it got a little bit. I think it's a little mixed in terms of reviews, but I mean, I enjoyed it. It was like if you like a true crime podcast kind of story,
yeah,
you're gonna find some like enjoyment in it. But it's also about how like girls are absolutely cruel to each other, and I really enjoyed it. Thought it was good. Yeah. So that's that. That's what I got, kid.
Fantastic. Well, all right, we're gonna wrap up this episode. Recommend and share this podcast with a friend or 2 or 10. Leave us a review wherever you listen to this podcast, and follow us everywhere at TBR Lowdown. And don't forget to visit our website, tbrlowdown.com. Our 2025 book club picks are up on our website. You can find those there. And also don't forget about our 4th annual 12 Women, 12 Countries Reading Challenge. All details, again, are on our website, tbrlowdown.com. That's going to do it for us. We are out of here. Bye.